My number 10, I'm going to start off with a channel that is certainly not what it once was. It is it used to be a hub for music, and it is not that anymore. It is a hub of ridiculousness marathons over and over and over again. But I'm going to start off with VH1 here. Back in the 90s when music was not readily at disposal, right? If you wanted to hear a song, you either had to buy the CD, buy the cassette, or listen on the radio and hope that your song would come on. You had a little bit better of a chance if it was a newer music station, if it was a newer song. But if there was something from 3-4 years ago that you really loved and you don't own that music via, again, CD or cassette, you weren't going to find it. So that's it kind of goes back to that overabundance kind of thing. Music felt more special when you flipped on a channel like VH1 and the music video would start playing. And I remember very fondly pop-up video that they did for quite some time. It had the you'd be watching a music video and there'd be the bloop, and some kind of cool fact would come up about the music video, and it added extra interest to watching and sitting through a marathon of music videos. Whether you liked the music or not, you were learning something and taking something from it. And I always liked at the end of every music video, there was the water cooler like effect, that bloop, 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 with all the bubbles coming up. I hope other people remember that. It was really, really neat. It used to be 53, channel 53 here in Niagara County, back in the Adelphia cable days before that whole fiasco went down. But now it is currently channel 61. I have that too. I actually found a website that if you navigate it appropriately, you can find old TV channel listings. If I remember when I'm editing this, I will pop it in the description because it was a really cool resource to see the evolution of TV channels. And especially looking back at like the 90s when there was like maybe 40, maybe that, and just to think that there's over 1,000 for a lot of cable providers now is insane. But aside from VH1, aside from pop-up video, VH1 later on did some great documentaries. The I Love 70s, 80s, and 90s documentaries were so good. They did year by year, and I can marathon and watch that. But the real specialness was the music videos, especially in the 90s where that was it was big. You wanted, if you were a musician, you wanted to get on VH1 or MTV and have that going there. So number 10, VH1. My number 9 is going to be the History Channel. History buff. All right. I've said that time and time and time again. And back in the day, the History Channel actually had a lot of history stuff on it. Now they go for more of the entertainment route, which there's nothing wrong with that. They realized how people viewed their channel, and they wanted to change it. And there's actually some really good shows now that still delve in history, like Pawn Stars and American Pickers. I love those shows to death. And there's some terrible acting in Pawn Stars, but I could watch that show over and over again. It's really cool to see these historical items, no matter where they're from, watch them get analyzed, watch a value get placed on them, and learn about them and what they were used for. Like, I've seen some really cool guns and clothing and so much more on Pawn Stars. And in American Pickers, they do a really good job of finding like old antiques. Like, I love the signage that they find, the old signs like gas station pumps and other things. Like, those go for big money. Old toys, they do a really good job with that. But when I came into History Channel many, many years ago, documentaries was where it was at. And they have a whole list of various documentaries. One that I'm always very fond of, is the president's one, where they broke each one down to like 5 presidents or so, 5 or 6 presidents, and they go and they do like a quick synopsis. It was probably about a half hour, 45-minute program for every 5 to 6 presidents that they covered. And I listen to it on YouTube often, especially getting ready for the 4th of July. But there's a lot of other documentaries too. There's tons of ones based on different wars, and they do a really good job at presenting those. And I miss those. I believe they still have them. I think History Channel has an online service that you can pay for and still watch those great documentaries. But yeah, the History Channel, what it was, and even to this day, what it is. Again, some of these great shows like American Pickers and Pawn Stars brings it into my top 10 at number 9. Number 8. Oh, if you know me on a personal level, you knew this was coming. You knew this one was coming. We're going to put the Weather Channel on here. And I have a bit of a Weather Channel fetish, to so to speak. It was let me go through my spiel, I guess. Every day started with the Weather Channel for me as a kid. Until I got a smartphone. All right, until I got a smartphone with a weather app that was convenient right there, and I didn't have to wait till it was on the 8s, right? The local on the 8s. But the local on the 8s was the most important part of my childhood. If I'm waking up and going to school, local on the 8s, that's what we're watching to kick things off. And it was heartbreaking if you showed up halfway through the 8, all right, and you missed part of the forecast, and you had to wait another 10 minutes for the local on the 8s to recycle through. But it was cool. I love watching. I will literally, and this is the fetish part of it, in a weird way, I will sit there and listen to Weather Channel music. Shout out Tremel Starks. All right, a lot of good music that he created for it. I literally associate smooth jazz music with the Weather Channel. And I've also sat and watched the history of the local on the 8s. I am that guy. You know, it started out, it's a really cool invention and concept, but yeah, just the crappy animations, the crappy cassette tape quality audio that they would play for it. It just makes it special. The animations that they would come up with. There's literally a history of the local on the 8s YouTube video, several of those out there. And you can see how every single year the local on the 8s presentation changed and got bigger and better. Big fan of the early 2000s. 2001 when they got the smooth talking voice guy there. He can, oh man, great voice, great. Welcome. Here's your local on the 8s, and he'd talk you through it. And it was very smooth. Then the late 90s were pretty cool too. They had like a blue and orange color scheme going on. So there was that. It used to be channel 29 in Niagara County, but now it is currently 49. But one more thing I'd add to this entry is that I enjoyed traveling to see the Weather Channel and how the local on the 8s was presented in other areas. And it wasn't like a significant difference, but it was kind of cool, you know, as a kid who used to drive to Florida all of the time, or every other year at least, to see how their weather is presented, see all the different locations in the area, and whatnot. But it was fun. It was fun. I used to also like the storm warning, like the little alarm buzzers that they would have. Love the Weather Channel. It was a no-brainer here, and always a reason to discuss television channels. So that's my number 8. Number 7. Speaking of going down to Florida all the time, we're going to talk about the Disney Channel here as my next entry. There's a lot of cartoon channels on this list. The Disney Channel, as much as I enjoyed it, there was a lot of great cartoons on it. It was not my favorite because of the cartoons, although there were several. Shout out to Gargoyles and a lot of the movie, like the animated movie-based cartoons like Hercules, Aladdin, Winnie the Pooh, and some of the kids' cartoons that they had, the kid cartoons like Roly Poly Oly and PB&J Otter, that show, and some other ones. The Disney Channel was just like it just felt natural, right? If I'm a Disney person, Disney Channel is just a natural thing, and they did such a good job covering all aspects. Some of their live actor shows, right? The Jersey, Lizzie McGuire, Even Stevens, and so many more. You had access to regular Disney movies as well as Disney Channel original movies, which helped it stand out. There's a long list. I could do a Disney Channel original movie list at some point, and I probably will. But another little hidden gem here, Disney Channel concerts. They did this for a very brief stretch. I remember my mom recording NSYNC, Backstreet Boys. Pretty sure Britney Spears did a concert. Maybe Christina Aguilera. But they got the biggest talents for a concert, and they do a live show, and it was cool. We'd watch those over and over and over again. We were so excited to watch these concerts because, again, like I talked about with VH1, we had limited access to music. So, and these were some of the biggest bands at the time, especially as a growing child. You love what the industry is throwing at you. So NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, and all these teenage icons are going to be front and center and on your mind, and they're presenting it live, and it was really cool to have access to that. It used to be channel 46 back in the day. It is currently 45, so there wasn't much of a channel change difference there, but Disney Channel, wonderful, wonderful memories around it, and that is my number 7. Number six, I'm going to put Comedy Central here. I wasn't allowed to watch Comedy Central until I was a little bit older. Just a little bit, just a wee bit. Especially certain shows, no doubt about it. But Comedy Central had, I like the stand-up comedy specials. We'd watch those a lot at nights, like Friday nights, Saturday nights. We'd put those on sometimes just to kind of kill the time and just not lull ourselves to sleep, but have just something to sit around and watch. And God, I can't tell you how many times I watched Blue Collar Comedy Tour, or any of those guys do individual stand-up routines, but a lot of good stand-up comedy was presented on there. Loved that aspect of it, and I got to be introduced to a lot of great people. Eventually, they did the roasts, the celebrity roasts, which were a lot of fun. It was a little bit more into the 2000s, but 2010s especially. But eventually I came into South Park. I got to watch South Park, and oh my God, that show is ridiculously fun and funny, and it's presented so well. It's so well thought of, planned out, mapped out. It is so damn good. So South Park was a big part of it. I used to love The Daily Show and The Colbert Report. It was a funny take on the news, and I remember just laughing. I'd sit and just laugh, and Jon Stewart, Stephen Colbert. I say what you will about them currently. Back in the day when they were doing these shows, they were tremendously fun and funny, and I'm actually glad that Jon Stewart's back on The Daily Show, having some part in presenting it. But yeah, Comedy Central. So it used to be channel 31 back in the day, and then around 2003, it found its permanent home on channel 55 here in Niagara County. So thought that was kind of cool to see that number. So Comedy Central, number 6. Number 5. Ooh. All right, it's getting tough here. The final 5 are actually incredibly difficult to organize. But my number 5, I'm going to put WB, or more so that what I'm referring to, Kids WB. Kids WB was a variety of different channels. I think at one point it was channel 22, and then maybe 10, but then it was eventually 8. Now WB isn't around anymore. It became UPN, and I believe it eventually became CW, if I remember this correctly. But back in the day, WB had some heavy hitters for cartoons, and as a kid, that's what you're searching for, right? Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, Superman. There was Batman Beyond. They had a Batman and Superman Adventures show. Batman Beyond, Pokemon. Yeah, pretty good show, pretty popular at one point. Pokemon was a mainstay on WB, and eventually it would go over to a couple other channels. Jackie Chan Adventures. Come on. That was top-notch. That was a top-notch cartoon as well. And there's so much more. Go check out all these channels' Wikipedia pages. You can see their former cartoons, and I'm sure if you go and do that, you might find something that you liked and enjoyed. But WB was pretty good, and you know what? Even some of their adult lineup shows like down the road were pretty damn good. Seventh Heaven, I think One Tree Hill was on WB. I think there was a lot of good content on WB, but I honed in on the cartoons. That's really all I cared. I don't even know why I mentioned One Tree Hill or Seventh Heaven like I watched any of those shows, but I'm just trying to spawn some memories for the viewers at home. The cartoons were what mattered, and WB, Kids WB, is my number 5. Number 4. Number 4, I'm going to put Nickelodeon here. Nickelodeon, another great channel for my upbringing. It used to be 38 back in the day. It's 44 here currently. And there's a lot of great iconic cartoons. Nickelodeon, I think, started in the late 70s, 79. I came into it in a great era with Ren and Stimpy, Rugrats, Rocko's Modern Life, and Real Monsters, a couple other great shows in that regard. And it eventually became the likes of SpongeBob, Jimmy Neutron, Fairly Odd Parents. There was a lot of really good shows that came from Nickelodeon, a lot of iconic ones. Rugrats and SpongeBob are two of probably the most iconic cartoons of all time, fondly remembered. But I also got to give a shout out to their Nick Jr. stuff too. All right, Blue's Clues. Became a big fan of Blue's Clues, especially at a time when my brother was growing up and in watching cartoons. So that was kind of a nice way to do that. It was sit and watch Blue's Clues with him. And also, it's a little weird to say this now, but Little Bill was a great show. I loved Little Bill. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of good. They had books, but the show was really cool to sit there and witness. Nickelodeon had it all. It was really well balanced between its early childhood stuff, their regular cartoons. They had some live action stuff, especially late night, where like Are You Afraid of the Dark, The Amanda Show, all that, which is, that theme is just iconic. And they also had some game shows too, like Legends of the Hidden Temple. The one I really liked was Figure It Out. That was probably one of my favorite game shows there. Me and my mom, and while my dad was working nights, me, my mom, and my sister would stay up and watch that over dinner time. So yeah, Nickelodeon at number 4, and deservedly so. It is a great one. I just loved everything. Slime Time Live, and it had such a good presence. And I really liked that it was an important part of Universal Studios. I was dying to go to Universal Studios because of Nickelodeon's presence there. All right, number 3. Fox 29. It was always Fox 29, but I always found it weird because it was always Channel 6. Always Channel 6, even the Adelphia days. Fox had some real heavy hitters too, and probably it's a really, really good cartoon lineup. Just about every super iconic show that I can think of was on Fox 29 back in the day. All right. Batman animated series, which eventually would go over to WB as the New Adventures of Batman. But I didn't realize this, but Batman, the animated series, started off on Fox 29. Bobby's World. I loved Bobby's World as a kid. One of my favorite Happy Meal toys back in the early to mid-90s were the Bobby's World toys. Those were great. X-Men, the animated series. Spider-Man, the animated series. I'm most positive that the Incredible Hulk, Fantastic Four, and Iron Man were all part of Fox 29 as well. They did have a Silver Surfer show and eventually an Avengers show. What else we got here? Power Rangers. Yeah, they were pretty cool too. I watched Power Rangers, all 3 of the Mighty Morphin versions. I watched Zeo. I watched Turbo. and I really stopped and slowed down when it got to Power Rangers in space. But that had a great home on Fox on Fox Kids, Fox TV. The Tick. The Tick is one of those '90s, often sometimes forgotten shows. I think they did a live action movie of it too, which I remember. I don't know why I remember that. Life with Louie. That was the one that my mom and dad really liked. Life with Louie. Louie Anderson. It was it was a fun show. I talked about Beetleborgs and the Toys That Made Us list. That was a Fox show. Imagine having that. Power Rangers and a Power Rangers ripoff in Beetleborgs. And another show that I've recently refallen in love with is Digimon. The Pokemon was king, but to me, Digimon came in second. Like, it was second best for a little while. I had the cards for it. I used to have the Digivice toy, which was basically like a Tamagotchi. Oh my God, I tried to find one of those on the resale market. There's no way. I'll probably never see one. But yeah, I had some of the other toys too, but I wanted to include it in the Toys That Made Us list, but I didn't have enough of them. I only had a couple, and they talked and made noises, but that was about the extent of it. But also too, like outside of that, Fox had a lot of Seinfeld, all right, the reruns, and it was also my favorite presentation of the National Football League. NFL on Fox, best theme, really great host, commentary, the whole total package. I thought the NFL on Fox was the best presentation back in the day. So that is my number 3, Fox, a.k.a. Fox 29. My number 2, I'm an old soul, and if my indication of enjoying the Weather Channel didn't give that away, or any of the other videos that I've posted didn't give that away, I like old TV. So therefore, TV Land is on my list, and it is my second favorite. This channel was big for me in my high school days and early college. Basically, that last stretch where I really truly owned cable. I loved the ability to flip on channel 37, TV Land, and watch shows that my parents grew up watching, watch shows that my grandparents watched, during the early days of television, and watch other shows that I had watched on other networks like TBS or ABC, and they would find their way to TV Land. Andy Griffith's Show is one of my favorite television shows of all time. I love the theme song. In fact, I was just whistling it to my son the other day, and he was smiling, and he loved it. And it's a great song. I love Andy Griffith, Don Knotts, young Ron Howard, and that whole cast there. It's just such a feel good show. It's such a feel good show. It's why I love TV Land so much, is because it's a lot of it's just wholesome television when there weren't agendas being shoved down people's throats, and it was just, hey, let's just make something good, wholesome, and entertaining. And I think that's why I have so much love and affinity for TV Land. Bonanza, Gunsmoke, The Brady Bunch. Eventually it would become Roseanne, Everybody Loves Raymond, King of Queens. These are shows that I watched, growing, in the late 90s, early 2000s, that I really enjoyed. Golden Girls is a show that I hold in very, very high regard. And when we do a TV shows list, I can guarantee it will be on there. It's fun and another iconic theme. And there were so many other shows there. I think that at one point they had game shows like Family Feud and stuff like that. But TV Land is a really good total package, and I love that it's there, that it's available and ready to go. All right, here we go. My number 1 favorite TV channel of all time, and it's the Cartoon Network. The Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network has always been a part of my life. It has always been like that go-to channel. When I came home from school, 10 times out of 10, the first channel I would pop on is Cartoon Network, which used to be channel 59, but now it's currently 46. Just a never-ending lineup of great cartoons. In the early days, it was a lot of Looney Tunes reruns and Tom and Jerry and Droopy, Josie and the Pussycats, Scooby-Doo. A lot of those shows. I used to love a pup named Scooby-Doo, the kid, but it was so much fun and never ending with those early ones. All the variations of Scooby-Doo. All the variations of Scooby-Doo. Hong Kong Phooey. Good Lord, I can name shows endlessly. And then when I started to come of age, some of the shows that they had. Two Stupid Dogs, a very forgotten show. Dexter's Laboratory. Johnny Bravo. Cow and Chicken. Ed, Edd and Eddie. Courage the Cowardly Dog. Codename Kids Next Door. Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. These were like instrumental. I don't know, maybe not Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. And I don't even know about Codename Kids Next Door, but a lot of those, like Cartoon Fridays was the big one. Friday nights were pumping out cartoons, new episodes. That was new cartoon time. Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. Powerpuff Girls. Can't forget about that one. That's an iconic one. And probably the newest one that I ever really fell in love with was Chowder. People have an affinity for Adventure Time and a couple other new ones that I can't think of off the top of my head. But Cartoon Network was the hub. And a lot of the stuff that I loved on WB would eventually come over there. A lot of stuff that I loved on Fox would eventually come over to Cartoon Network. Like when Pokemon came over, like that was a big deal. Teen Titans would eventually cut. Well, I guess Teen Titans was more of a Cartoon Network show, but a lot of the DC stuff would eventually come over to Cartoon Network, and they just absorbed everything. And it was nonstop, action-packed lineup. Whether you were watching it during the early parts of the day, the middle of the day, the evening, Adult Swim with Futurama, Squidbillies, amongst other things, Cartoon Network was and will always be the best TV channel I have ever watched. So much fun, and I'm sure a lot of people can agree with that. But there it is, everybody. That is the list, the top 10 TV channels list.